Hello, my name is Peter Schapani here with Austin Baker,
Hey, how's it going?
and we are Dead on Board. Today we're featuring Modern Night on Wednesday here at Magelings. Okay, looks like we have Thomas Parker on the left and Brandon Rakers on the right. Impulse, look at the top four.
Yeah. Top 4 cards of the library. You get to choose one. Do not have to reveal. Although, if you're really swag, I guess you do. I don't know.
Untap, draw for turn. Looks like we drew Living End, maybe?
Yeah, it looks like it.
The art can be kind of telling. Let's see here. 4 islands on the board. That's Cryptic Command territory.
It is. It's definitely not living in territory. We're not suspending anytime soon. I'm not actually completely certain whether or not this deck can suspend living end. I think it can. But here we have Cryptic Command.
Tap your team, draw a card. So, if I'm Thomas, I don't really care, right? Like, we're not sacking a Curse Catcher.
Maybe. It depends on how relevant you think the 1 point of damage is worth versus your opponent getting to draw a card.
Yeah, he's sacking it.
I guess Thomas felt it was important enough.
I mean, Thomas is already... Not that he's in a bad position, but he's missed 2 land drops now. No Lord. I can only imagine what he has in his hand.
Yeah, it's not vials or anything like that either. I don't know. It's tough to say. I think he might have some 2-drops, but he's declining because he wants to get in with this Mutavault to try to push through damage. But we'll see if he stays with it. Looks like he's going to. Second Cryptic Command. This one's probably going to happen, unless we have main deck Spell Pierce.
It would be really good for you here.
That would be very good.
Team is tapped. He's drawn a card. Untap. So if I see correctly, I think that's the filter land.
Looks like it might be a Sunken Ruin.
Could be.
It is an expedition, so it's tough to tell. All right. So we're suspending a living end. It must be the Sunken Ruin then. The filter land. It's going to cost double black, so living end is eventually coming down.
And that's a very real clock. With all the cyclers in the graveyard and Thomas not having the adequate amount of pressure. Reveal Merfolk.
Harbinger of the Tides. Not the best one here.
Activate Mutavault. Get in.
Yeah, Thomas must just not have a Lord. Or maybe he wants to rebuild after.
Remand the draw.
Remand's a good one. Peter, do you think Thomas is maybe a little bit hesitant to commit to this board given his sort of predicament with the living end on suspend?
That's a very good question.
Oh, well, that'll be game 1.
There it is. So what's interesting is he blew the 2 Cryptic Commands before he really needed to. I guess forcing the Curse Catcher sack might not have been the worst thing.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting choice. Maybe you want to try to make it to where Thomas has to sack both of them to counter your Cryptic, and you can kind of get them both off. But at the same time, maybe you just want to draw a card, try to make your hand better than it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
if you are blue-white Merfolk, first I'll ask, what are you doing with your life? And second, I'll ask, what are you boarding in here?
Unified Will, almost certainly. Is a powerful one. I don't know if Thomas has access to Remands or Spell Pierces. I almost certainly has access to Spell Pierces. But I do like just sort of generic answers, counter spells and things. Dispel's okay. Dispel's all right. Worship is actually pretty interesting here. If it hits the battlefield, I'm not actually certain that... Oh no, Brandon, he has Cryptic Command, so it's
probably not going to hit.
Yeah,
also,
not great.
Living End kills your creatures.
Yeah, Worship looks like an enticing one, but it actually isn't that good.
How about a Mana Tithe?
Oh, Mana Tithe. Nobody ever plays around Mana Tithe, but also they shouldn't, so...
I don't know, man. Daze is a powerful card.
Daze is good.
When can we have Daze Wizards?
In Modern? You ever thought about this? Whether Daze would be too good for Modern? Because we're shocking ourselves most of the time.
Right, but some people like doing that, right?
Yeah, I guess Shadow's a thing. Okay, all right, never mind, I'm off of it. I'm into it a little bit, but I'm mostly off of it. Yeah, it's a sweet idea.
What if it was like a basic land? It has to be a basic island.
Oh, okay. I'm more interested.
I think that just makes Jeskai the most powerful.
No, Jeskai doesn't want it, do they?
Why not?
They're trying to make their land drops.
I guess that's fair. So like tempo, we see like some weird rug stuff.
Yeah, like sort of rug delvery nonsense.
I've had enough of rug delver. It can go.
It's not even been 2 months, Pete.
You know what? Could have been 2 days.
Yeah,
I've had enough.
Just rug delver's just not fun.
I don't like thinking about the text on Stifle.
Yeah. Stifle's also brought a lot of interesting questions because people will look at me and they're like, I don't know if the card in my hand is a triggered or activated ability. And I'm like, I don't know if I have Stifle.
I mean, I'm going to cast it. We're going to find out.
Yeah.
So.
I'm like, put the card on the table. We'll see what's up. And they don't. They call a judge. But
Speaking of Stifle,
mhm.
have you seen Mr. Hoagland's most recent top 8?
I have not, actually.
Did you hear about it?
No. What was he playing?
Nimble Obstructionist in Modern.
Oh, my God. Stifle Bird. It's kind of interesting.
He top 8'd with, like, basically blue-red wizards.
Oh, I did see the Wizards deck or whatever. It's
It's
an
a pile.
interesting one. It's it's definitely a pile. It's definitely a pile. Looks like Thomas still has Kira the Great Glass Spinner in his deck, and I don't know if he had better cards to cut or not. I guess Spreading Seas is pretty bad. I don't know how many cards he could bring in, but Kira is less good when all your opponent's removal is not targeted.
Yeah.
So.
And honestly, when you could only bring in 15 cards, but, 14 of those cards are not good right here.
Right.
Sometimes you just need a beater.
Yeah. I assume the Spreading Seas were the first things to go. Because they do nothing.
Realistically, slow game for both sides of these players. Black mana early for Brandon would have been a lot better.
Possibly.
And then Thomas without a Lord would have been
Yeah,
at least a turn or
yeah.
two faster.
Yeah. I guess luckily for Thomas, he didn't need it. But it would have definitely helped his cause.
Looks like Thomas is going to mulligan to 5 here.
Yeah, he's on 5 cards. Which, I mean, there are plenty good 5s with Merfolk.
Is blue-white Merfolk playing Vile?
Yeah.
Assuredly.
Certainly. Vile is... I'm not going to say the reason this deck can exist, but it's certainly close to the reason that this deck is even remotely playable. Vile's just the best thing you can be doing. Tormod's Crypt in his hand. That's an interesting one.
I think that card's very fine.
Yeah, that card's very good. Looks like he's going to play it out now. I think it's a good idea. Just start this nonsense early.
Are those Talaria West?
Oh, they are.
Interesting.
They
very
are.
interesting.
Those things do transmute for your living end.
Aha.
Yeah.
0 cost spell.
Oh, Thomas is actually going to start the value chain here of Silvergill Adept, and he revealed a second Silvergill Adept.
You just got to let him know.
Yeah, this will really help Thomas recover from the mulligan, honestly. See if there's an As Foretold here. As Foretold would be just the most powerful thing you could be doing, but
No.
maybe not.
Looks like Brandon has a couple of cyclers in his hand.
Yeah, hesitant to use them with the Tormod's Crypt on the battlefield.
Hmm. But I think eventually you got to get value out of it, right?
Yeah, they're not doing anything in your hand. Also, I like how Brandon was playing around Island Walk by playing his 2 Talaria West out first. Alright. Okay, so we're going to remand Silvergill Adept. It's not the most exciting play, but you do it.
Especially without Cavern Souls.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, Cavern would have been much better. As Foretold's actually in his hand now, so see if we're going to see one. No, just this big old Sphinx.
Sure.
The ye old 4/4.
4/4 for 4. Does it fly?
It does. A classic blue card. 4/4 4/4 4/4.
4/4.
That's a lot. That's
flies.
4/4s. That's what that is.
Now we're going to cast some Merfolk with Cavern of Souls. Here, counter this.
This is a Marrow Reachery, likely. Yep. Got a Marrow Reachery, so...
Yep, that resolves.
Yeah, 2/2. Untap or tap some things. This card is very good at pushing through damage or allowing you to play a bunch of spells in one turn. It's also a Lord.
So the pressure's on. With that Sphinx in the way, probably got to buff your Merfolk one more time with the Lord.
Yeah. If Thomas has one more Lord, he can trade his Silvergill with the Sphinx. I don't know how likely Brandon is to send in for 4, because it's a lot of damage coming back the other way.
Yeah, it'd be pretty.
I mean, you take... Oh! Well, he's got stones. He's not scared.
You know what? He's probably got Cryptic Command in hand. The man has a plan. Oh, nope. He's going to tap 3
just
mana.
as foretold.
Fine.
Alright. I know it's probably more mana efficient to do it the way he did, and he wanted to use all his mana that he could on his turn, but I do like getting the As Foretold out as early as possible.
Here's this thing.
Oh, Living End. Alright. It's going to cycle in response to the Living End. This works too.
Does Thomas care? Like, he can crack Tormod's script, right?
He could, which might be reasonable. We got a spell or dispel here. Oh, no, it's not an instant, Thomas. It is a sorcery.
It's basically an instant, though, right?
Kind of. This is an interesting one for Brandon, as it's kind of a 2 for 2. It's not the most exciting trade or use of a Living End, but he does get an As Foretold in play. Oh, the Bajuka Bog's so good there. That makes his next Living End very, very good.
The As Foretold just basically says, I don't care how I trade, because every turn I'm going to get more value.
Yeah, pretty much. The As Foretold is being in play is just gonna probably amount to some amount of issues for Thomas. But we'll see. Send in for 2 with Mutavault. Mutavault commonly seen with Merfolk, but it's actually most powerful in Fairy.
Oh, please, no.
Scion of Una
Yeah.
gives it Shroud. Wasteland this.
Speaking of fairies, when are we going to see that deck again?
Well, it's in the works.
Good.
It's in the works.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, unfortunately, me.
Oh, we're just going to get rid of this, meaningless land.
Find a 0-drop, transmute, as a sorcery.
I mean...
Oh.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Oh. I don't know why this wasn't on our radar.
We were both thinking Living End, and we were like, well, that's not good here, right?
Yeah, why are we getting a Living End? I mean, maybe you just want to get a Living End while you can.
He says, I want to recall.
Ancestral Vision is pretty good, so they say. Still have a land drop to be made, so we could probably play a second As Foretold if we found one.
Wouldn't that be gross?
That would start to be pretty gross.
Maybe just keep it up to cycle some stuff.
Yeah, very possibly.
Pass turn. 8th file up to 1. I think I see a Surgical Extraction in Thomas's hand.
Yeah, looks like it. Which is not a card I love here, but it does do some work. Interesting, both players have Vial, Thomas for creatures, Brandon for spells.
Powerful.
Brandon's, I think, might be a little better. Because he can freely tick it up every turn.
So if I was on Brandon's side, I probably would have boarded out some number of counter magic. Like, because we saw the caverns, right?
For sure. Cryptic Command holds a lot of value, as you kind of saw game 1. It does a lot of other things other than counter, but you're right. With Cavern and Vial, less interested in counter magic. Brandon's doing exactly what you predicted. Gonna cycle some stuff.
Cycle some more stuff. Drew Remand. He also drew an Ancestral Recall, basically.
He did. Likely to get played this turn. Brandon just must love drawing cards.
Who doesn't?
True.
Casting Brainstorm is one of the best things you could do in your entire life.
I would agree. It's also quite a headache.
Here is this thing.
Interesting. Living in now.
I think I see an Echoing Truth in Thomas's hand. Not great. Even if you target 2 of the same cyclers, right? They go back to his hand and he just cycles them.
Yeah, it's not the most exciting play. It's one that can be made, though. Architects of Will, I believe, doing its thing.
Rearranging the top 3 cards? Yeah, fine.
Merfolk has so much redundancy. It's a little tough to really kind of make them draw a terrible one. All their cards are 2/2s for 2.
Yep.
3 mana. Second As Foretold? Nope, just transmuting.
Now, do you just want to draw more cards at this point?
Yeah, EE is a reasonable one.
Also,
Assuming that is
maybe
EE,
redundant. I don't know. Like,
I'm not quite sure what the I guess goal of transmuting for EE is here, other than the fact that it's probably a convenient time to do so. But honestly, I think there might be some value in just waiting.
so Echoing Truth, one of the creatures, notably not being remanded by Brandon.
Yeah, I guess we knew he had the remand, but I guess he's not concerned. He just wants to cycle it anyway.
And I think that's a safe plan, right?
Sure.
Like, just hold it for something else. Sure, you have 2 Cavern of Souls out, but God knows, you know?
Yeah, you're also probably not choking Thomas on mana. He can just Echoing Truth it in his turn, and it's not really that much of a bother. It is notable that, like, Living End, whenever it does go off, usually brings back creatures that are bigger than what your opponent can deploy. But Lords do some weird stuff, man. So
yeah, they
Merfolk can create a board seemingly out of nothing. Put a bunch of 4/4s in play, 5/5s.
Supreme Will to draw.
It's a pretty good one here.
At this point, I don't know what Thomas's outs are.
If this Ancestral Vision happens, I don't love Thomas's position. I'll be honest, I don't love it anyway.
We are just so far behind EE for 2.
Yeah, it's okay.
I guess if you want to prioritize killing Lords, right? Like,
yeah, most of Merfolk is 2 drops, so it's definitely reasonable.
the Trickster.
Yeah, it is a Trickster. Let's see if we want to blow up this EE now, or just let it happen. I'm kind of like just letting this happen, honestly. Ancestral Vision, yeah.
That is just gross.
Yeah, I like this one a lot. A Crypt of his own?
I guess that makes sense, because, like, you don't want your
Sure.
living end to, create value
Sure.
for your opponent.
Yeah, it's a little odd, but I understand.
Notably not playing the second As Foretold.
Violet to 3 is an interesting one. Yeah. I'm very inclined to run out the second As Foretold here. I don't know if he suspects Thomas on EE, but also Thomas only has 2 colors. So EE on 3 is probably not going to be a thing that happens. Activate Field to Run. Blow up Cavern. I actually just... Of course, like, Field of Ruin has fallen out of the format a bit, but I actually just don't love activating it that much against Merfolk. I guess he's just trying to fix his own mana, but if you think Merfolk doesn't have any islands, I mean, come on.
You are very mistaken.
Yeah, yeah. You're going to have to Field of Ruin them a lot.
Maybe you're just doing a little deck fitting.
Yeah.
Like,
For what it's
he
worth,
has 2 Caverns, so...
Yeah, sure. I would say for what it's worth, I would prefer to hit the Mutavault.
Yeah, good call, actually.
Yeah, if the Cavern is redundant, then I'm not that interested in blowing it up.
Here come the beats. Bring out the Mutavault. Double blockers.
Right. Oh, here's a Kira.
What does Kira read?
Reads your opponent can't win because your creatures can't die.
Oh.
Sort of. Basically, it says the first time any creature any creature you control is targeted by a spell your opponents control, counter that spell. So if Kira's on the battlefield and you want to bolt a Lord of Atlantis, then that bolt is going to be countered. The second bolt can resolve, though. But if you want to bolt a Lord and then bolt the Kira, well, both of them are going to be countered because it triggers for each creature.
Say go from Thomas.
Yeah, it looks like he's got a Reachery in hand. Serve in for damage. And step Reachery. Alright, Thomas has gonna have a lot of mana to work with here. Reachery does sort of create mana on its own, but Thomas is gonna scoop him up and go to game 3.
At that point, with As Foretold ticked up as high as it went, Living End has done its damage. Tormod's Crypt is on the field.
Right.
It's hard to come back for something like that.
Right. Yeah, Thomas was drawing pretty well dead. So don't blame him for picking him up there.
I think it just goes to show the sheer value that comes from casting free spells, right?
Yeah. Oh god, yeah. Ancestral Vision is a fine card when you just suspend it. When you just get to, draw 3 for free.
Sounds vintage playable.
Yeah. I mean, I thought Pot of Greed was egregious.
What does that card do?
It draws 2 cards from the top of your library, top of your deck.
Notably, not the bottom.
not the bottom.
Going into Game 3, I still believe that Thomas is favored here. That mulligan to 5 really hurt, even with the 2 or the 1 resolved Silvergill.
Yeah, I think you're right. I do have Thomas probably slightly favored. His mana disruption package from Game 1 was irrelevant. And all he has to do is kind of put down a clock and then hold up things like Spell Pierce and Remands and the like, and his life will be pretty easy. Because the one card that really gets him is Living End. Almost certainly, at least.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just a one-sided board wipe.
Yeah. I mean, even if it wasn't one-sided, which, I mean, it's actually reversed than that, right? It gets his creatures, it kills Thomas's creatures and gets Brandon's creatures back. So,
right.
Even if it was just kill all creatures, it would be a problem for Thomas. But as it is, Thomas has some interaction for that, and if he can keep a sort of good tempo hand, we could see a good game. Of course, Brandon's focus has to be just making sure Living End resolves at some point. As Foretold being one of the best ways to do it.
I think Thomas found out that he's very underprepared for sorcery speed spells.
Yeah, he did have 2 or 3 Dispels on his board, which are Dispels just basically the Pyroblast of Modern. But unfortunately, most of Brandon's deck operates at sorcery speed in some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely.
All the big spells.
Even the Cyclers, sure, they're drawing you a card, but in the end, they're just huge bodies coming out for free.
Yeah, and Thomas has no way to really kind of prevent the Living End from happening. He can mitigate most of the damages, but Remand is a good way to try to stop it, unless there's an As Foretold in play. Spell Pierce is pretty good, but only if it's played on the same turn as Foretold. So Spell Pierce is actually just amazing.
Absolutely.
Countering the Foretold is very good.
Both players deciding to mulligan here. I think I saw a no-lander from Brandon's part.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
Brutal.
Yeah. I mean, a good 6 is, or even a medium 6 is better than a bad 7, so we'll see if they can both keep a reasonable 6. Peter, do you think blue is underrepresented in Modern?
I think it's a great second color.
Really?
Yeah.
But you wouldn't want to play mono blue like these 2 guys are tonight.
Please no.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand being proactive as a Merfolk player, but there's just not enough to do.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
I would say that you're not proactive enough, right? Turn 1/8 Vial for Thomas here.
That's proactive.
Absolutely. Island Go, not proactive.
We are seeing 2 sides of the essentially same coin here.
Yep.
All right. Thomas with a more or less dream start here, honestly.
Cycling Street Wraith.
Yeah, Thomas does need to get down a clock before things like Living End can start happening, so I do like Thomas's aggression in putting things in play. No 1-drop for Thomas, so no Curse Catcher almost certainly.
A Cabin of Souls would be very key here. I'm expecting a Remand if I was Thomas.
Yeah, Remand is a likely possibility.
Thomas says, let's go.
Yeah, send him for 3.
Cycling.
It's kind of interesting Thomas tapped his lands instead of his Vial to get the, I guess that's the second Lord, I presume, in play. But, I mean, this does let him do stuff on end step, but at the same time, oh my.
Yeah.
Oh my. Okay.
So if Thomas has another Lord, I think that's a game.
Yeah. He's moved his vial to 3 for Kira.
I don't know if I would commit anything to the board here, right?
Yeah, it looks like you got 12 power in play. It might just be safe to just send in and then make him answer you. Okay. Well, maybe not.
Can't counter this.
Yeah,
You can't tap
there's
my
a Kira.
team. Well, play
Oh,
this.
good lord. Okay. Oh,
Do you have Remand?
so here's a bunch of damage. Looks like
Bunch
15.
of damage. And that'll be game.
That's the aggressive Merfolk draw. Sometimes they just get you with that.
That was turn 4.
Yeah, Brandon never untapped to play his 4th land.
That's incredible. Goes to show, all it takes is a good starting 6.
Yeah. Good starting 6 can definitely get it done, especially on a Merfolk, which does some wacky things. Sometimes they can play a long game, and sometimes they just kill you on their turn 4.
And the threatening of Vial is just...
Yeah, the Vial was obviously very good that game because it just let Thomas play a bunch of spells that he normally wouldn't have been able to do. So.
Thank God you can only play 4 of those cards, right?
Oh, yeah. Can't stand the Vial.
All right, well, we will see you back for round number 2.